Good afternoon. Welcome back, people. Hope all you're doing well. I'm Miles. Welcome back to the channel. If this is your first time here, hi. And today I'm back with a gear review, courtesy of the lovely people over at DONNER, who this time sent me out an EQ pedal to check out. Now, for those of you who may not be sure what an EQ pedal is, EQ stands for equalization. In a musical context, equalization is in reference to adjusting the frequencies of sound that are available in whatever application that you're dealing with. In most typical applications, you'll find that you have an adjustment of the equalization of sound from your car stereo, your home radio, iTunes, Spotify. You can adjust if you want to have more low end in the sound of all your songs, or if you want to have more high end, or if you want to have a mid boost. You can do the same adjustments when you use an EQ pedal with a guitar, a bass, keyboard, and even when you go to the studio, almost everything that you do in that case is going to run through some sort of EQ. And so what an EQ is adjustment of the low frequencies, middle frequencies, and high frequencies that exist in terms of sound overall. Now, in most cases, you have interface that has those three knobs, low, mid, and high, but you can have a more elaborate setup. In the case of what we're dealing with today from DONNER with their EQ pedal, it's going to look like this. Now, I'm sure there's a couple of you out there that are watching this and are looking over at your guitar amp and thinking, I have EQ on there, so why would I get an EQ pedal? What purpose would that really serve me? Well, I'll tell you. An EQ pedal will serve to cater to a number of different needs that you would have as a guitar player and as a musician overall that you may not readily think about firsthand. Today, just to give some further clarification in terms of what you can actually get accomplished by using an EQ pedal, I'm going to be running my guitar through my Fender Champ combo amplifier. It's a tube amp. I just recently got it back from Beaumont Guitars over in Northvale, New Jersey. After getting some new tubes in it, I don't know if it's been retubed since years and years ago. It's actually my dad's, and I feel like it probably had the original tubes in it. But now it's got some brand new ones. It's sounding great, and I'm eternally grateful to those dudes. So if you're in Northvale, New Jersey at any point in time and you're trying to get some of your gear looked at, or maybe you're in the market for a new guitar, go check them out. You won't be disappointed. So first example, you can use an EQ as a clean boost. When I play out with my band Our Fears, on my board I already have an Electro Harmonix linear power booster boost pedal that I use to kind of bring my signal up through the mix when I have a solo so that I'm heard over all the other instrumentation. So with a boost pedal, what you're doing is adding a couple dB of gain to your signal, and the volume gets raised a little bit as well, so that when you're playing your solo or you're doing a part that you want to stand out from everything else, it'll be heard and it won't be overly distorted. There'll still be clarity to what you're doing. It'll just be more pronounced because now it's at a higher volume with a little bit more gain to it. The same thing can be done using simply just an EQ pedal. You would keep all the other sliders that you have to adjust the other frequencies flat, which just means that you're not down low, you're not up high. You're in the middle. You're in a neutral place. And bring the level up. Bring that level up a little bit. And one of the other benefits of having an EQ pedal for this purpose is that you can also sculpt the sound overall of what you want your lead tone to be. Take a guy like Tom Morello, for example. He's playing through a single channel amplifier, and he's using the natural overdrive from that amp to get his distorted sound. Now, whenever he takes a solo, there's no other channel for him to switch to, and he's not using any sort of distortion pedals on top of what he's doing in order to maintain the clarity of what he's trying to play. So he uses an EQ pedal, brings the level of it up a little bit while keeping everything else flat. And so when he goes to take a solo, there's no change in the characteristics of his sound. It's just simply more pronounced because now it's being heard over everything else. So yeah, if you need a boost and you're not looking to spend a bunch of money on a fancy boost pedal that does only one thing, get an EQ. You might be better off that way anyway. Another application to consider is if you're playing a gig or you're in a situation where you're going to be switching through a multitude of different guitars. For me personally, there's been times where I've been switching between active pickups and passive pickups, or from one guitar that's just got a higher output pickup in it versus one that's got a lower output pickup in it. And what you'll find is that there's going to be a dip in the level of volume between the two guitars. Now, you can certainly adjust the height of the pickups on your guitar to an extent to get some of this stuff taken care of. But the thing is that once you start adjusting the height of your pickups, you can run into the risk of having them too close to the strings or too far away from the strings, where you don't get any real sound picked up by the pickups. So this is when you could benefit from having an EQ pedal. What you could do in this case is set the EQ to whatever level is going to be even with your lower output guitar to your higher output guitar, so that when you switch between the two, you can step on your EQ and it evens it out and they're at the same level throughout. This works best in a live scenario. If you're in a studio, you don't really have to worry about levels in this sort of way because you're going to be adjusting the levels of everything overall anyway. But if you're in a cover band, if you're playing a show and you have to bring a bunch of guitars, it's an option that's worth considering. Another useful application of an EQ pedal would be to put it before an overdrive pedal in your signal chain. So let's say you have an overdrive pedal that's really good at one thing, but you want to make it more versatile. Having an EQ pedal in front of it allows you to be able to adjust parameters that you wouldn't be able to adjust necessarily with this particular overdrive. Let's say you want to turn it into a treble booster. Maybe you want to bring the low end of your signal up more, make it more pronounced. Maybe you want to boost the mids so that your solos, when you take them, are more pronounced amongst everything else that's going on. You can do all of that by putting an EQ before an overdrive. Another option in terms of a way to utilize an EQ pedal would be to utilize it in a manner that it's fixing problematic characteristics of any of your guitars that you might have in your collection. Now, if you're anything like me, you have a couple guitars and they all are different in terms of their configuration of pickups and just their overall sound. And in which case, you have to adjust the EQ on your amplifier accordingly in order to get them to sound relatively similar to each other. But let's say you have one guitar, or you have one particular guitar within your collection of stuff that is very tinny or it's very bassy, and you want to try to adjust that so that when you're in a gig situation, it's not this drastic change you have to make to your amplifier. Enter the EQ pedal. You can adjust the frequencies on an EQ so that overall what your sound is from this particular instrument can be relatively similar to your other instruments, or just be more desirable overall to you as the listener and as the player. And yeah, why not have this option that you can easily turn on and off versus having to go back to your amplifier during a gig and start messing around with knobs, moving things around, to then have to readjust it again when you go back to another guitar that sounds completely different. So it's only going to make things easier. Like, help me help you, all right? Now let's say you have a single channel amp and you want to change the entire sound of it overall. Well, you can run an EQ pedal through the effects loop. The amp that I'm using doesn't have an effects loop, so fortunately for me, I like how it sounds. But I could also just run an EQ through the front of the amplifier, and that works just as well. So you have the option to do either one. You get different sound qualities from either approach. And so, I mean, really, if you have the ability to utilize an effects loop on your amplifier at home, consider trying it out with an EQ pedal. See what you can benefit from with that approach. Now, some of you might be out there asking, is this even a good EQ pedal? And to answer your question, I will respond with a question. What makes a good EQ pedal? Some might say that it comes down to having a complementary tone to your dry signal, but in reality, a good EQ pedal has no tone to it at all. It really shouldn't be adjusting any sort of sound aside from whatever adjustments to the sound you make accordingly. In this case, you have 10 bands of frequencies to adjust, and by moving these faders, that will change the quality of the sound in the different frequency ranges that these sliders fit into. So if you're trying to get all the high frequencies out of what you're doing, you would take all the highs out. If you're trying to boost all the lows, you will bring all the lows all the way up. Mids, up or down, whatever you want to do. If you want to scoop your signal, bring them down. You want to boost them so that everything is heard much more pronounced, you bring everything up. So in conclusion, as far as the SEEKER EQ from DONNER goes, I think it's great. I'm probably going to be putting it on my new board that I'm putting together as not just an EQ, but as my primary boost in front of my overdrive, so that when I do take solos with not just my overdrive, but also with my fuzz, I have something that's going to pronounce what I'm playing without adding any extra color, unless I specify that I want extra color added to it. And you can get this 10-band EQ for yourself for just $46 on Amazon. So I'll leave a link for that down below. Hopefully you found this video to be useful. Hopefully you have a better understanding of how to utilize an EQ. It's not limited to just the guitar. You could also use on the bass, on piano, on vocals. You can do a whole multitude of different things with an EQ pedal. I couldn't describe all of them here today because I wanted to keep the video relatively short. But I encourage you to check it out for yourself. So look up DONNER, look them up on Amazon, and get your hands on an EQ pedal. You won't be disappointed. If you enjoyed today's video and you like what I'm doing, please hit the like button. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to this channel. I have lots of new stuff that I want to be rolling out in the coming weeks. And if you're subscribed and you hit that little bell icon, you'll be notified when I have new stuff out and you won't miss it. So keep that in mind and subscribe. If you would like to support this channel further, I'll leave links for all that stuff down below. But other than all that, I thank you guys for your time. I hope you found today to be informative. Check out DONNER. Big thank you to them. Big thank you to my patrons over at Patreon for continuing to support me in what I'm doing here. There's more to come, and it's all because you guys continue to support what I'm doing here. I thank you all. Keep playing. Peace.